My neighbor demanded I watch her 3 kids every weekday for free, and when I said no, she threatened to tell my boss I was a bad parent. Let me back up. I live in a quiet neighborhood in Portland, and about 6 months ago, Jennifer and her family moved in 3 doors down. She had 3 kids, Marcus who's 8, Lily who's 6, and baby Tommy. Her husband works out of state most weeks, so she's basically doing the solo parent thing. I get it, parenting is hard. I have 2 kids of my own, ages 9 and 7. But here's the thing, I'm a freelance graphic designer. I work from home, but that doesn't mean I'm available to watch other people's kids. It started small. One afternoon, Jennifer knocked on my door. Hey, can you watch the kids for like an hour? I need to run to the store. I said, sorry, I'm in the middle of a project deadline. She looked annoyed but left. Then it happened again and again. Every time it was a different excuse. Doctor's appointment, hair salon, grocery shopping, errands. And every time I said no, she'd get this look on her face like I was being unreasonable. Then one day she just asked differently. I was outside watering my plants when she walked over, with all 3 kids trailing behind her. So I've been thinking, she said, not even saying hello first. You work from home, right? You're here anyway. Yeah, but, so it wouldn't really be that hard for you to watch the kids during the day, like Monday through Friday, maybe 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., just while I go back to work. I thought she was joking. Jennifer, that's full-time childcare. Exactly, you're already home. I have my own job, I have deadlines. She crossed her arms. They can watch a movie or play in the living room, they're not babies. And honestly, it would really help me out. We're struggling financially. I felt bad, I really did. But this wasn't my responsibility. I can't do that, I need to focus on my work. She left without another word. But things changed after that. About a week later she showed up at my door again, this time alone. Her eyes were red like she'd been crying. Can we talk, please? I let her in. She sat on my couch and just started talking. Look, I know I've been asking a lot and I know you're busy, but I'm desperate. My sitter canceled on me, and I can't afford another one. I have a job interview next week. Just 1 week. Can you help me, just for 1 week? I almost said yes, almost, but I knew how this would go. 1 week would turn into 2, 2 would turn into permanent. I'm sorry, I really can't. She left again. But this time, everything got worse. 3 days later I got a call from my boss. Hey, I got a weird call from someone saying you weren't a responsible parent, and that you were neglecting your own kids. My blood went cold. Who called you? She didn't leave a name, but she said you were always working, ignoring your children, and that you were selfish. I knew it was Jennifer immediately. I drove straight to her house. She answered the door like she wasn't expecting me. You called my boss? She didn't even pretend. Well, maybe if you thought about someone other than yourself for once. You called my boss and made up lies about me? What is wrong with you? I didn't make anything up. I said what I observed. You're always working. Your kids are always alone. My kids are fine. They're at school half the day, and I'm a good parent. You don't get to call my employer, and I wouldn't have had to if you just helped me out. This is your fault. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. No, this is not how this works. You don't get to blackmail me into free childcare. I'm not blackmailing you. I'm just telling the truth about what I see. You're lying to my boss to pressure me. That's harassment, and I'm going to report it. I walked away and immediately called a lawyer. Turns out what she did was actually illegal. It was harassment and defamation. My lawyer sent her a cease and desist letter. But I didn't stop there. I filed a formal complaint with HR at my company, documented everything, and explained the situation. My boss actually felt bad for me. Then I went to the police and filed a report. The officer said it was a civil matter, but having it on record mattered. 2 weeks later, Jennifer's husband showed up at my door. He looked embarrassed. I'm so sorry. Jennifer told me what happened. We're moving. I got a job transfer. I wanted to apologize personally. They left the neighborhood by the end of the month. My boss called me after they moved. Just so you know, that woman called back trying to add more stuff, but we already knew she was lying. You're fine here. Sometimes people think they can push you around and get away with it. She learned that lesson the hard way. I found out my girlfriend of 4 years lied about a work conference and spent the entire weekend with her ex-boyfriend instead. Her name is Sarah. We've been together since college. We moved in together 2 years ago, and I thought we were solid. We talked about getting married. We had plans, real plans. Last month, Sarah told me her company was sending her to a marketing conference in Denver. 3 days, Friday through Sunday. She seemed excited about it. I drove her to the airport myself on Friday morning. She kissed me goodbye and said she'd call me that night. But she never called. I texted her around 9 p.m. asking how her flight was. She texted back like 2 hours later saying the conference started right away and she was tired. I didn't think much of it. I figured she was busy. Saturday came and went. Same thing. Short text said she was in meetings all day. I started to feel a little off about it, but I told myself I was being paranoid. Then Sunday morning, I got a text from my friend Marcus. He lives in Denver. He said, "Hey man, I just saw Sarah at brunch with some guy. Thought you'd want to know." My stomach went into a knot. I called her right away. She didn't answer. I called again. Still nothing. So I texted her asking where she was. She said she was at the hotel. I asked her to send me a picture. She made an excuse about her phone being dead. I drove to the airport to pick her up that afternoon. When she came out of the terminal, I was watching her face. She looked nervous. She knew something was wrong. I didn't say anything until we got in the car. Then I told her what Marcus said. She went quiet for like 30 seconds. Then she started crying. Not like sad crying, like caught crying. "Okay," she said. "Okay, I need to tell you something." I waited. There was no conference, she said. "I went to Denver, but not for work. I went to see Jason. Jason is her ex. They dated for 2 years before we met. I knew they had history, but she always said it was over. Done, in the past." "What do you mean you went to see him?" I asked. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel. He called me 3 weeks ago, she said. He said he wanted to see me. He said he made a mistake breaking up with me. He said he still loved me. And you said yes? I didn't plan to, she said, but then he kept calling and texting, and I started remembering how good things were with him, so I told him I'd come. You lied to my face. You looked me in the eye and lied about a whole weekend. I know I did. Did you sleep with him, I asked? She didn't answer right away. That's all the answer I needed. We did. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't even know why I did it. It was like I wasn't thinking straight. He was just so, don't, I said. Don't explain it to me. I pulled over at a gas station and told her to get out. She begged me not to do this. She said she wanted to work on us. She said Jason meant nothing to her. She said she loved me. But I wasn't listening anymore. I drove her to her mom's house. I told her to pack a bag because she wasn't coming back to our apartment. She cried the whole time. She kept saying we could fix this, that she'd do whatever it took. I told her the only thing she could do was leave. It's been 3 weeks now. I changed the locks. I'm keeping the apartment. Her stuff is still here in boxes by the door. Her mom tried to call me and convince me to give Sarah another chance. I blocked her number. Sarah keeps texting me. She says she's in therapy now. She says she realizes she was having some kind of breakdown. She wants to talk in person. I don't want to talk to her. I don't want to see her face. I don't want to hear her voice. My sister told me she was having a tiny courthouse wedding with just immediate family. I found out she threw a huge celebration with everyone but me. Okay, so here's the thing. Sarah and I have always been close. We're only 2 years apart, and growing up we did everything together. So when she got engaged to Mark last year, I was excited. I asked her about wedding plans, and she said they were keeping it super small. Just our parents, Mark's parents, and maybe a couple of close friends at City Hall. She was very clear about this. I told her, hey, if you do decide to have something bigger, let me know. I'd love to help with costs. I meant it too. I have a decent job, and I wanted to support her. Fast forward 6 months, and scrolling through Facebook, and I see a photo. It's Sarah in a wedding dress, not a simple courthouse dress, a full white gown, and she's standing in front of an arch with flowers, lots of flowers. There's a DJ booth visible in the background, easily 100 people in the photos. I felt sick. I called her immediately. Sarah, what is this? She was quiet for a second. Then she said, oh, you found the photos. Yeah, I found the photos. You told me you were having a courthouse wedding, a small thing, just family. I know what I said. So you lied to me? It wasn't a lie exactly. It just evolved. I was confused. Evolved? Sarah, you had a full wedding, with a DJ and a band. I can see a catering station in these pictures. Mark's mom wanted to help pay, so we decided to do something nicer. It happened pretty fast, and I didn't want to make a big deal out of it. Didn't want to make a big deal? You made a huge deal. You just didn't invite me. That's not fair. It's not fair. You lied to my face. I offered to help pay. I would have been there. I'm your sister. She started crying. I know. I'm sorry. I was scared. Scared of what? That you'd judge me for spending so much money. You're always talking about being smart with finances. I didn't want you to think I was being stupid. I couldn't believe this. So instead of trusting me, you just didn't invite me to your wedding? My mom invited you. She didn't know I was planning a big event. She thought it was just the courthouse thing too. I asked to talk to my mom. Turns out my mom didn't know either. Sarah had told her the same story. Only Mark's family, Sarah's best friend from work, and Mark's college roommates knew the truth. Everyone else in Sarah's life got lied to. A week later, Sarah called again. She asked if I could help her with the wedding costs, because Mark lost his job 2 weeks after the wedding. They were in debt and needed money. How much? About $18,000. I said no. I told her I couldn't help pay for a wedding I wasn't invited to, especially after she lied about it existing. I told her she needed to talk to Mark's mom, who had offered to help pay for the event in the first place. Sarah said I was being cruel. My mom said I was holding a grudge. My dad said that family helps family. But here's what I keep thinking about. Sarah made a choice to exclude me. She made a choice to lie. And now she wants me to pay for the consequences of her choices. I feel bad that Mark lost his job. I really do. But I'm not going to pay for a party I wasn't invited to, because my sister couldn't be honest with me. My sister asked me to co-sign her mortgage, but I found out she's been stealing from our parents for years. Okay, so here's the thing. My sister Emma is 34, married, and has been trying to buy a house for like 2 years. She's been turned down by every bank because her credit is trash. Bad debt, missed payments, the whole thing. So last month, she calls me up and asks if I'll co-sign her mortgage. She needs a co-signer to get approved. I'm 38. I've got good credit, solid job, all that stuff. I told her I'd think about it. I wasn't excited about it, but she's my sister, right? And I wanted to help. So I said I'd look at her finances first, just to understand what I'd be getting into. That's when things got weird. I was talking to my mom about it over coffee, just casually mentioned that Emma asked me to co-sign, and my mom's face just went pale. She got quiet. Then she said, you need to talk to your dad. So I did, and that's when I found out. For the last 5 years, Emma has been taking money from their accounts. Small amounts at first, then bigger. 100 here, 200 there, then 500. My dad has ADHD and doesn't watch the statements closely. My mom works nights. Emma has access because she helps with their bills sometimes. She's stolen around $18,000 total. They only figured it out because my dad started getting warnings about low balances. I was shocked, like really shocked. I asked my dad why they hadn't told me. He said they were ashamed. They didn't want to admit their daughter was stealing from them. They were still paying her phone bill, still giving her money when she asked, even though she was taking it anyway. So I called Emma. I didn't tell her what I knew. I just said, I need to talk to you about the mortgage thing. We met for lunch, and I brought it up. I said, before I co-sign anything, I need to know the truth. Where did your debt come from? How did your credit get so bad? She started making excuses. Bad luck, unexpected costs, her husband's job situation. She was vague, evasive. She never mentioned the money she took from our parents. That's when I said it. Emma, I know you've been taking money from mom and dad. I know about the $18,000. She froze. Her face went red. Then she got angry. That's between me and them, she said. No, it's not, I told her. Because you're asking me to put my name on a loan. You're asking me to risk my credit and my money for someone I can't trust. You stole from our parents. You lied to my face 5 minutes ago about where your debt came from. Why would I co-sign anything for you? She tried to spin it. I was going to pay it back. I was just going through a rough time. They said they didn't mind. They never said that, I said. They were ashamed to tell me. They're still paying your phone bill while you're stealing from them. You're just going to punish me forever? She asked. I made a mistake. It's not punishment, I said. It's consequences. You can't borrow money you don't intend to pay back, and then ask family to co-sign your mortgage. That's not how trust works. She told me I was being cruel. She said I was throwing her past in her face. She said our parents forgave her, so why couldn't I? But here's the thing. They didn't really forgive her. They were just afraid to deal with it. And she was going to keep taking from them if someone didn't stop her. I said no. I wouldn't co-sign. Now she's telling people I'm sabotaging her life. My mom called me crying, saying I'm being too harsh. My dad hasn't said much, but I can tell he's relieved. Emma's husband texted me, asking if there was any way I'd reconsider. I don't think I'm wrong, but I also feel guilty. She's my sister, and maybe I should have tried to help her fix the problem instead of just shutting her down. So am I the a-hole here? I've been lying to my wife about my entire past for 7 years, and she just found out everything. When I met Sarah at that coffee shop in Portland, I was a different person. Not a better person, just different. I was broke, working under the table at a garage, living in a basement apartment. My family was a mess. My dad was in prison for armed robbery. My mom was a drunk who hadn't spoken to me in years. I had a daughter from a girl I dated in high school, and I wasn't paying child support. I was just broken. Sarah was beautiful and kind and from a good family. Her dad was a doctor. Her mom volunteered at charity events. When she asked about my family, I lied. I said my parents were both dead. Car accident when I was 19. I said I was an only child. I said I'd gone to college for 2 years before dropping out to work. None of that was true. Then I actually got my life together. I got a real job in tech. I got clean. I put myself through night school. I made real money. And I couldn't tell her the truth because the lie had roots everywhere. Every family dinner where her mom asked about my childhood, I had to remember the stories I'd made up. Every time Sarah talked about how glad she was that I had no family drama, it felt like a knife. 5 years into our marriage, I finally started paying child support for my daughter Emma. I set up the payments through a lawyer to keep it quiet. But I never told Sarah I had a daughter. That was the big one, the one that would blow everything up. Then last month, Emma turned 18 and found me on social media. She messaged me. She wanted to know why I'd never been in her life, why I'd never even tried. I panicked and blocked her, but she was smart. She found my work email. She found where I lived. She showed up at my office. I met her in the parking lot. She was tall and had my eyes, and she was angry. So angry. Why did you abandon me? She said. I didn't abandon you, I said. I paid for everything. I sent money every month. Money isn't a father, she said. You never called, never visited. You just paid and pretended I didn't exist. I tried to explain that I was young and stupid and scared, but she didn't want to hear it. She said she was going to contact my wife. She said Sarah deserved to know. I begged her not to. I told her it would destroy my marriage. She said that wasn't her problem anymore. I went home that night and told Sarah everything. Not because Emma was going to do it, because I couldn't live with it anymore. I sat on the couch and I just started talking. I told her about my dad in prison, about my mom drinking herself sick, about Emma, about the fake college degree, about the made-up childhood. I watched her face change as I talked. She just stared at me like I was a stranger. When I finished, she didn't yell. She didn't cry. What else? She said. There was nothing else. She got up and walked to the bedroom and locked the door. That was 3 weeks ago. We're still living in the same house, but we're not really living together. She sleeps in the guest room. We don't talk unless it's about bills or logistics. She's talking to a divorce lawyer. She told her parents some of it, and now they won't return my calls. Emma reached out again. I actually responded this time. We're meeting for coffee next week. It's not going to fix anything with Sarah, but at least Emma deserves the truth. At least someone will. I destroyed my marriage with 7 years of lies, and the worst part is, I knew the whole time that it was coming. I just hoped I can outrun it long enough. I couldn't. You never can. My boss made a rule that every employee had to document every single task they did during the day, and I followed it so literally that it exposed his entire side business. So here's the thing. I worked at a mid-size marketing firm called Foster & Associates for about 5 years. My boss was this guy named Derek, 52 years old, always talked about being super organized and efficient. He was decent to work with most of the time, but he had this habit of micromanaging us whenever he got stressed. One Monday morning, Derek called an all-hands meeting. He was frustrated because some projects were running late, and he couldn't figure out who was doing what. So he announced a new policy. Starting that day, every single employee had to submit a daily log. Not just a summary. Every task, every minute, every email, everything. He said, I need complete transparency. I want to know what every person is doing every second of their workday, no exceptions. I remember this guy named Marcus sitting next to me. He leaned over and whispered, this is going to suck. Derek kept talking. You'll submit these logs to me at 5 p.m. every day. If I can't see what you're doing, you're not doing your job. This is non-negotiable. Honestly, I thought it was dumb, but it was a rule, so I decided to follow it. Not the spirit of it, the actual rule. Every single word. I started documenting everything, and I mean everything. I didn't paraphrase or summarize. I wrote down exactly what I was doing in real time. 9 a.m. Opened email, read message from client about campaign. Took 3 minutes. 9:03 a.m. Responded to email. Took 4 minutes. 9:07 a.m. Opened project file, reviewed creative brief. Took 8 minutes. 9:15 a.m. Checked Slack, responded to Marcus about meeting. Took 2 minutes. 9:17 a.m. Opened design software, waited for it to load. Took 30 seconds. And so on. Every single thing, every bathroom break, every coffee refill, every moment I scrolled through a website for 5 seconds. It was insane. My first log was 12 pages long for one day. I printed it out and handed it to Derek. He looked at the stack of paper and said, "What is this?" I said, "My daily log, like you asked, everything I did." He flipped through it and said, "This is too detailed. I don't need this much information." I said, "But you said complete transparency, every task, every minute, no exceptions." He frowned but said, "Fine, just keep doing it." So I did. Every day for the next 2 weeks I handed Derek a stack of papers, documenting my entire workday. Other employees started doing it too, but they were more normal about it. They just wrote summaries. I was the only one actually following the rule as stated. Then something interesting happened. Derek started asking me to send my logs early, by 3 p.m. instead of 5 p.m. He said he was reviewing them to make sure the system was working. I said okay and sent them. After about 3 weeks, Derek called me into his office. He looked stressed, really stressed. He said, "Why are you documenting so much detail about what I'm doing?" I said, "I'm not documenting what you're doing, I'm documenting what I'm doing." He said, "But your logs mention when you see me in the office and when you don't. You wrote down that I left at 2 p.m. yesterday and didn't come back until 6 p.m. I said, "That's what happened. You said document everything." Derek's face got red. He said, "Stop including that. Just focus on work tasks." But here's what I realized. Derek was worried because my detailed log showed he was gone most afternoons, and if the log showed that, then his absence was being documented. The company had cameras, payroll records, email timestamps. I kept following the rule exactly as he'd stated it. Every task, no exceptions. About a week later, Derek called another all-hands meeting. He said the documentation policy was being suspended. He said it was too time-consuming and not effective, but the damage was done. HR had already noticed the pattern in my logs. The fact that Derek was out of the office constantly. They started looking into it, and they found out why. Derek had been running a consulting side business during work hours. He was taking clients, doing work, and billing them using company resources and his company laptop. The whole thing was a violation of his employment contract. HR investigated, found emails, found invoices, found everything. Derek was fired 2 months later. The company settled with his side business clients for using company equipment. He lost his job, his reputation in the industry got damaged, and he had to pay back money. All because I followed his rule, exactly as he wrote it. No interpretation, no mercy. Marcus told me later that Derek's lawyer apparently said the documentation policy was actually evidence against him in the settlement talks. The logs showed his pattern of being absent, which made his side business obvious. I never said anything to Derek. Never mentioned that I'd done it on purpose. Just followed the rule. Sometimes the best way to deal with someone's bad idea is to make it work exactly the way they want it to. My boss fired me for performance issues the same day I found proof he'd been stealing from the company for years. Let me back up. I worked at a mid-size marketing firm called Clarity Media for 5 years. My boss was this guy named Derek Chen, 48, always dressed in expensive suits, drove a Tesla, the type of guy who made everyone feel small. He ran the Chicago office with an iron fist. I was the operations manager. My job was to track budgets, manage vendor contracts, and keep things running smooth. Derek would get angry if we went $50 over budget on anything. He'd call team meetings just to lecture us about fiscal responsibility and accountability. It was exhausting. Then one day in March, Derek called me into his office. I thought maybe I was getting a raise. Instead, he said, "Your numbers don't add up. You're not pulling your weight. We're letting you go. 2-week severance, no references." Just like that. Cold. No warning. No chance to explain anything. I was shocked. I asked him what he meant about my numbers not adding up. He said, "Don't worry about it. HR will send you paperwork." He wouldn't look me in the eye. I went back to my desk and started packing my stuff. Before I left, I needed to grab some files I'd been working on. I opened the shared drive folder for vendor payments and noticed something weird. Derek had been approving invoices from a company called Premier Solutions LLC for months, thousands of dollars, but I'd never heard of this company. We didn't use them. There were no contracts, no emails about services, nothing. I did a quick search online. Premier Solutions LLC had the same address as Derek's house. My hands started shaking. I opened his email folder. I still had access because I was operations manager. I found the emails, dozens of them. Derek had been creating fake invoices, approving them himself, and sending them to our finance team. Over 2 years, he'd stolen almost $450,000. I saved everything to a USB drive. Every email, every invoice, every payment confirmation. But here's where I got smart. I didn't go to the police right away. I didn't call the CEO. I did something better. I made an appointment with a lawyer named Patricia Valdez, who specialized in whistleblower cases. I showed her everything. She said, "This is solid, but we need to be careful. If you go to the authorities, Derek might disappear or destroy more evidence. You need to force his hand first." We came up with a plan. I sent Derek an email from a new account. The email said I'd found his Premier Solutions invoices and knew what he'd done. I said I was giving him 48 hours to either come clean to the CEO or I was going to the FBI. I made it sound serious, professional, like I wasn't angry, just done. Derek called me immediately. He was freaking out. Where did you get that email from? Don't you dare do this. I'm not doing anything, I said. You did this. You stole from the company. You fired me to cover it up. You have 2 days. Listen to me, he said. His voice changed. He was trying to be nice now. We can work this out. I can get your job back. I can give you 100 grand. Just delete whatever you found. No, I said. You had your chance to be honest. Now you have 48 hours. He didn't go to the CEO. Instead, he tried to run. He booked a flight to Costa Rica for the next morning. That's when I called the FBI. I gave them everything. The emails, the invoices, the flight information. Patricia made sure I had legal protection as a whistleblower. Within 12 hours, federal agents showed up at Derek's house before he could leave for the airport. He was arrested at 6 a.m. The company did a full audit. They found that Derek had stolen almost $500,000 over 3 years. He'd been using the money to pay for his house, his car, his affairs with his mistress in Milwaukee. He'd been living a complete lie. Derek pleaded guilty to wire fraud and theft. He got 3 years in federal prison. The company recovered about $200,000 from his assets. I got hired back with a promotion and a $200,000 whistleblower reward. Derek sent me a letter from prison 6 months later. He wrote, I hope you're happy. You destroyed my life. I read it once and threw it away.